Hey guys, welcome back to the Pulling Curls podcast. Today is another graduate day. Let's untangle your confident delivery. Hi, I'm Hillary Erickson, the curly head behind the Pulling Curls podcast, where we untangle pregnancy, parenting, home, and even travel. We know there's no right answer for every family, but hopefully we can spark some ideas that will work for yours. Life's tangled, just like my hair. Hey guys, before we get started, this is your chance to leave a review. I mean, you're already on the app. Just jump in there, leave some words, leave some stars, like lots of stars, like the Hollywood Walk of Fame stars. That's the best kind of stars. Today's guest is the mother of a beautiful 3-week-old baby boy. She's actually also a Twitch streamer, and she is a graduate of the online prenatal class for couples. She came mid-pregnancy and hung out with me. She brought the deluxe course, so we were hanging out in the Facebook group, and she loved it so much. I'm so excited to have her on. I want to introduce today's guest, Amber Breeding. Do you feel prepared for your delivery? In just 3 short hours, you can be prepared for the confident, collaborative delivery you want. You'll know what to expect and how to talk with your healthcare team, and there are no boring lessons in this class. I'll use humor, stories from my 20 years in the delivery room to engage both of you. I love how Alyssa told me that she found herself laughing at things that used to sound scary. Most of all, you guys are going to be on the same page from bump to bassinet. Join the online prenatal class for couples today. You can save 15% with coupon code UNTANGLED. You can find the link in the show notes. Hey, Amber, welcome to the Pulling Curls podcast.
Hello.
All right, so you are not far out from baby being born. How old is the little guy?
He is a little over 3 days. 3 days. 3 weeks. See, I already have that postpartum brain. It's worse than pregnancy brain, I swear.
It is because you're so tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks.
Yeah. 3 weeks and a few days.
And you ended up scheduling a C-section, kind of a last-minute scheduled C-section.
Right. I had a doctor's appointment on Thursday, and that morning we scheduled a C-section for the Friday morning.
Yeah. A surprise, but not an emergency one.
Right. I consider it kind of semi-emergency because he was stuck. So they were like, we just need to get him out.
Let's just get him out. How big was his head?
I don't know. I don't think they told me what his head was, but it was like stuck on my pelvic bone. And she was like, he's not going to fit out of there. Your birth canal is too small.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. So what are 3 things you did to help you be confident in your C-section? And also, because you had a ton of prenatal appointments towards the end. So you had a lot of choices to make and stuff like that. Tell me.
Yeah. So I was doing weekly ultrasounds toward the end. Our biggest things that we did was we actually made a registry, like during the first trimester, and we let people know about that registry right off the bat. I don't like being one of those people that's like begging for stuff, but people wanted to buy stuff for us, and it ended up being we only had to buy a couple of the big things. Almost everything we got for him was somebody buying it for us, so that was extremely helpful financially.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna have the money to prep for a baby, and we're like, that's a huge deal. So starting a registry super early and letting people know about it, that was, people don't think about that. That's a big thing.
Where did you put your registry at? Amazon?
It was mostly on Amazon. Everything that was bought was from Amazon, but we actually made Amazon, Walmart, and Target registries.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you also don't get double buys. Well, I guess you could if you had multiple, but most people bought on Amazon.
Yeah. And then the cool thing about Amazon is once somebody's bought it, it takes it off the list for other people. We only had 1 double buy, and I think that was like maybe Amazon had a glitch or something and it didn't tell somebody that something was already bought. I don't know. But, other than that, it worked perfectly.
Also super easy returns for Amazon.
Yes, very, very much so.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, and I think this one's a big deal, is we made sure that all of my doctors, not just my OBGYN and my perinatal specialist, but also my psychiatrist, they were all in the loop with each other because I am on medication. And so they all needed to make sure they knew what was going on and everything. So, and even postpartum, all of them are working together to make sure that I'm still mentally and physically okay postpartum too. And so I think that's been a major deal for me.
So is that something you talked to your doctor about at the beginning, if they were like cool to be on board with that? Because some probably would just be like, we're separate doctors. Whatever they do is like separate.
I don't think I had to convince them or anything like that. I mean, I had talked to the psychiatrist before I even started trying to get pregnant. And I was like, hey, this is what I want to do when I do get pregnant. And he was like, okay, cool. And then when I met the OBGYN, I had told her, hey, I already talked to the psychiatrist about this and this is our plan. And she was like, I think that's a great plan. We'll go ahead and we'll work with him. And so, they kept in contact through like, just making sure they sent each other my files and stuff, it ended up working out perfect.
That's perfect, because sometimes they want to just be like live in their own little lands. Like you are separate people. Your brain is separate from your uterus, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
It's all tied to it's all in the same person.
Not at all. It's like you do realize all of this interrelates and, the psych stuff is going to affect my baby. So
yeah, it totally
that's
does.
a big deal.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, and then the last one was taking your class, actually. That one's like the biggest. It doesn't seem like a huge deal to take a prenatal class, and a lot of people just put it off. But I started your class, or I got the class in my second trimester, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's too soon. You don't really need that until like the third trimester. Like, no, this is important. So I think my husband and I rewatched it about 4 or 5 times. My husband watched it twice or listened to it once from the other side of the room, and it like really prepared us. I mean, mentally and physically, we had prepared for a vaginal birth, like just a normal birth. But I also, as soon as I found out that it was going to be a C-section, I'm pretty sure I rewatched that chapter 3 or 4 times. Like it's been extremely helpful, because I went in there and I didn't even question when she was like, do you want to just do a C-section? Yeah, sure, I'm prepared, I've got it. Like there was a little bit of anxiety because it's my first ever surgery I've ever had in my life, but otherwise mentally I was ready. I was like, anything's gonna happen. I'm not gonna be heart set on anything. I'm just gonna go with the flow because I know what to expect.
Yeah.
So that part was super helpful.
And do you feel like that chapter prepared you pretty good for a C-section?
Yeah, actually, almost everything that they talked about in the OR, like listening to them talking and getting set up in there, that like I was familiar with just about everything. And
yeah,
of course, I had an absolutely amazing anesthesiologist. He was extremely helpful too. So, one big thing is making sure the anesthesiologist knew that I have anxiety.
Yeah. Although I will say most people have anxiety in the OR.
That's true. I can imagine that.
Yeah, diagnosed or not, we're all coming in nervous. So
yeah. So, but that was a huge deal. And I have friends that they don't want to spend money or whatever, and they're like, hey, well, we're gonna just look on YouTube and find out what we can find to get prepared on YouTube, and they just weren't prepared enough. And
yeah, YouTube is great for like pieces of information, but you just don't end up getting the whole buffet, and we all want the whole buffet, right?
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, what did you learn anything about yourself during this whole process?
So one of my biggest things was that the C-section was the first surgery I've ever had. And so I actually kind of surprised myself, because most of my life I've actually been told horror stories about C-sections. Like every C-section they use tongs, and a friend of mine, her one of her siblings was pulled out of a C-section with tongs and ended up, now her arm doesn't work. Like she just doesn't have a working arm for the rest of her life, or like all these horror stories. And then these people saying how, oh well, the doctors only schedule C-sections so that they can live their life. And so I hated C-sections for the longest time. But then 1, watching the class, and 2, actually doing research on it, when it came to it, I was so comfortable in their comfort, including being completely numb from the breast down.
Yes.
But like I was so comfortable and prepared and ready for it that if I had to do it again for a second kid, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, okay, no problem.
Yeah, you're just prepped for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing is that you didn't have all these hopes and wishes that were like, oh no, if I have a C-section, none of that can come true, because C-section babies are loved just like all the other babies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. All of the taboo that used to go around isn't as prominent anymore, and it's really awesome. So that was the biggest thing that I learned about myself, is I was wrong. And that I am braver than I thought I was.
You're going to learn that a lot as a mom.
Yeah.
Both those things. Yeah. All right. So you're at 3 weeks. What do you feel like it's getting better? Like the whole postpartumness?
For the most part, yes. I mean, the physical recovery from the surgery is a little bit rough, or it started off really rough, but I'm doing so much better now. I've still been able to handle my kid even through the recovery. I think the hardest part is just that he has major gas issues. And so we're trying to like troubleshoot
Mhm.
whatever could be the issue. But yeah, it's so much easier now than it was to start. And one of the things is you're told, oh, it's going to be all great and stuff, and then if you're not expecting it, it could really mess you up. But thankfully I was expecting it to be pretty difficult to start off.
Did I over difficult it? I'm very clear in the class that it can be difficult. There are no rainbows from this one.
Yeah, no, I don't think you over difficulted it. I think if that's a word, difficulted. But it also just depends on the baby. And thankfully, like the first week and a half, he's like the best baby. I mean, he's still, besides being gassy, obviously, if I had gas pains, I'd be ticked off too. But other than that, he really only cries when he needs to cry to tell us something. He's such an awesome baby. And I know there's some babies that aren't exactly that easy to deal with.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I think you look back over the 3 weeks and you're realizing that it's get better, but there are days where you're like, this is the same every day and it's never going to get better, but it slowly does, right?
yeah, for sure. It's also been helpful that my husband's been extremely helpful through all of this.
And is he on paternity leave or is he working?
Yes, he's kind of on paternity leave. He's technically on paternity leave, but he works 2 days every other week, just the way that his schedule works out. Some weeks he works 5 days, and other days he works 2 days. So he took off all of the weeks that are 5 days and is still working the 2 days.
Oh.
So we're still making money, but he's able to be home with me and the baby. And it's been really helpful because we take turns at night.
Oh, that is helpful. Yep. So does he feed baby a bottle?
Yes. We have had to supplement some with formula just because, long story short, the nurses in the hospital were too worried about my baby's weight and didn't understand, I guess, how colostrum and breast milk work. And so they were freaking out and put him on formula to start. So he's kind of supplemented with formula, and I'm slowly building up my supply so that he can, we could slowly get him onto full breast milk. But yeah.
My kids all had formula and one just got a 34 on the ACT. So, I mean, stuff happens. Have you seen a lactation consultant?
The last lactation consultant I saw actually was the one that was in the hospital that told me you need to put him on formula.
Oh.
And I was like,
man, that's a rare one.
I was like, I've never heard a lactation consultant that wasn't like, you're a terrible person for not breastfeeding your kid.
That's interesting. Did she give a reason? Was his blood sugar low or?
No, it's just he came out at 5 pounds 9 ounces, and within the first day he was down to 5 pounds 3 ounces. And so they were like freaking out, and I was like, you guys realize his stomach is tiny, so of course just the few droplets that are coming out, that's gonna fill him up. But they were no.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like lactation varies a lot person to person sometimes. So, but also we want babies that are thriving and growing. So there's that, but it doesn't seem like a giant weight loss. So who knows?
Yeah, no. Within the first week, he was already almost a whole pound. I mean, he's already more than 2 pounds. Well, no, a little less than 2 pounds bigger than he was when he was born now. So,
well, the studies when I worked for a pediatrician back in, when I rode my dinosaur to my pediatrician's office, they always said that moms who supplemented always breastfed longer just because they felt like they had just that tiny little bit of support. And it sounds like, so husband gives him a formula bottle during the night?
If I have enough supply in the fridge, he'll give him breast milk bottles. But if I'm low, then he'll use formula.
Perfect. Yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They both are food.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And baby, besides the gas, is fine. He's happy. So.
All right. Perfect. Well, it sounds like it's going really good. Amber, thanks so much for checking in as a graduate. We really appreciate you coming on and letting other people know what to expect.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I think it's so important that they've shifted and they've flexed according to like what went on. She had a pretty high risk pregnancy towards the end. She was seeing a perinatologist. You might be seeing a perinatologist too. So it's really important to take all of those into account as you're trying to make your best choice for your delivery. And she made the choice that a C-section was going to be the best for them because baby wasn't descending, like baby was still super high. And so they just made that best choice for them. So good job, Amber. I love that she and her husband are splitting up night shifts. After we got off the call, I was talking about how my husband and I also do that, and we still do it. I am the early bird and he is the late owl, and it actually works really well for parenting because he can make sure kids come home alive and I can make sure they get up and get to school. So it's super handy to run things like that. Thanks again for coming on, Amber. So glad you're an online prenatal class for couples graduate. Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode. We know you have lots of options for your ears, and we are glad that you chose us. We drop episodes weekly, and until next time, we hope you have a tangle-free day.